As the Paris terror attacks unfolded, social media and technology offered help to victims in crisis, but it also assisted the terrorists. Many people are wondering how the perpetrators of the attacks were able to go completely undetected before carrying out the deadly string of attacks. The focus is now on encrypted apps.
CBS News contributor Nicholas Thompson is the editor of the New Yorker magazine's website, NewYorker.com, and he joins us now. Thanks for being here, Nick.
Pleasure to be here.
So the FBI said technology is making it easier for terrorists to chatter online because they're communicating using dark encryption. What is that exactly?
So dark encryption is basically encryption that the government can't get into, encryption that's encrypted from end to end. So from the time I type information into my phone and send it to you, it's encrypted at every part, and it's impossible for the FBI or the NSA to sort of swoop in and get it at any part in that whole transaction.
What do the companies have to say about that?
Well, so a lot of it is done through software companies that aren't based in the United States. Post Snowden, a lot of use of social network communication apps moved to software built in, say, Russia, which obviously is not going to have the same ties to the U.S. security agencies. But at the same time, post Snowden, the relationship between the government and Silicon Valley was completely poisoned, and companies like Google and Apple have built much, much more encryption into it. So as information, if you and I chat on a messaging service, that information is stored in all kinds of places. And it used to be the case that the government could basically get into at least one of them or two of them or three of them and get that information. Now, with an encrypted sort of end-to-end, it's much, much harder.
But they could, at the end of the day, there would have to be a whole lot of legal wrangling to get access to those servers. But they could get access to those servers, or is it encrypted completely, you have full safety for these terrorists to be able to chat and communicate?
It depends on the system, it depends on the software, but in a lot of cases, yes, if you actually, even if you get complete access, and even if the court signs off and says you can go in and get anything you want, it can still be encrypted and you can't use it at all, right? So the whole point, for example, of using Tor is that even if the government had access to it at almost any point, it can't read it. Now, so the government would have to get your phone or would have to get your computer. Once it does that, then it can get a lot more of the information.
Doesn't this put technology companies in a really difficult place? Because, for law-abiding users of the technology, some people might not like the government being able to poke in, and obviously that's a concern. I mean, doesn't this put those companies in a tough spot?
It puts them in an incredibly tough spot because it puts three things against each other, right? It puts their financial interests against it. It puts their political pro-U.S. we want to help the government interests, and then puts their sort of civil libertarian side, right? So these are companies that come out of the counterculture in San Francisco. U.S. law enforcement does not have a perfect record of treating civilians with complete respect when it has access to their data. So you see all of those things in a tangle, and they're having a very hard time figuring out what to do.
Nick, let's talk about something else related to this. During the attacks on Friday, we were all working. We were all reporting the news. I have a lot of family, a lot of friends in Paris. When I got home, I had been trying to text people, but when I got home and opened up my Facebook page, I saw the names of my family members and my friends saying that Facebook has checked in and they are safe. And this was something I'd never seen before. This safety check that Facebook turned on, they've done it before for the Nepal earthquake, for the tsunami in Japan, in Afghanistan, but this was really something incredible to allow people to check in and let their loved ones know that they're safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So what Facebook does is they have safety check, and this is the first time they've activated it for a terrorist attack or a conflict. What it does is it notices whether your phone is in that location. If it is, it sends you a message and says, "Are you safe?" You click it, and then a notification is sent to all of your friends. So it's a very good tool. It makes it much simpler than having to text everyone or having to reach out to them individually. You get a list of all of your friends who have been marked safe. Now, as we've also seen, there's been a huge backlash against it, which is covering a lot in the press, because it was activated in Paris, Western city, lots of Facebook executives go on vacation there, and not the day before in Beirut, which is, also a place that has been quite safe, where this kind of terror is relatively, new for recent times. So a lot of people are upset about that.
Yeah, well, in fact, Mark Zuckerberg had a statement out and said that, we chose to activate Safety Check in Paris because we observed a lot of activity on Facebook as the events were unfolding. Ultimately, he says there has to be a first time for trying something new, even in complex and sensitive times, and for us, that was Paris.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. You can see that there are a lot of Facebook users in Paris. There are probably a lot of Facebook users in California looking for their friends in Paris. That then raises the secondary question, well, why doesn't Facebook have the same penetration in Lebanon? And you can just say, well, that's the way it is, and Facebook has to deal with the way the world is. Do I think it was a bad decision to activate it in Paris? No, of course not. It was a very good decision. Could they have activated it the day before? Maybe.
Will we be seeing this more and more, unfortunately?
We'll be seeing, so I think what's actually going to happen, I think this is where you give Facebook a lot of credit. We're going to see this more and more. We're also going to see Facebook building other tools, right? So for example, there was a hashtag on Twitter called Porte Ouverte, right, which I've probably mispronounced.
That's right.
And the idea was that people in Paris were saying, our doors are open, come and stay with us if you're stuck. It didn't really work because Twitter isn't set up for that, right? It was just retweeted a lot. It's in this endless stream. It's very hard to find information. You can imagine Facebook building a tool that is like that in the time of a disaster, saying, hey, come to my house. It knows your geographic location. It knows your social network. It can say this person is a friend of a friend of a friend, and they have an open door. Go to their house. So you can imagine Facebook's tools evolving in a way that is absolutely great for this kind of disaster or tragedy.
Yeah, because unfortunately, we're not talking about a natural disaster here, a man-made disaster.
Right, man-made disaster.
All right.
Nicholas Thompson, yeah, thank you very much. Really fascinating stuff.
Thanks for having me here.